Thank you so much, David, joining me on the Sami Parvez show. Sir, it is always an honor and privilege to have you here.
Always nice to be back, Sammy. I'll be here every week.
Okay, thank you so much for your commitment. I highly appreciate it. Hopefully, my audience will be glad to hear this. Sir, let's begin with Trudeau departure, like he announced to resign whenever the new lead or the new leader of Liberal Party would be announced, which will be announced on March 9th, which Liberal Party announced today, I believe, and and also like Trudeau now went to U.S. for former U.S. President Jim Carter funeral, and it seems like he is appearing on the just US media outlets to tell American about himself. He appeared on CNN and then also appeared on MSNBC, I believe that is called, and also CBC reported, cited Radio Canada that Trudeau made calls to NDP leader and also Bloc Québécois just on the day he resigned to make some commitment to run the government for few more weeks or maybe months, but it seems like they refused to make any commitment. So what do you take? Like we talked, I believe on Sunday, and I wanted to know like what do you predict on Monday? As you said, it could be proroguing the parliament, but it seems like it was a little bit unlike that Trudeau is going to resign. Like he seems like his ego put he put his ego above on everything. Like we saw like what happened like in the 9 years, but suddenly he said now it's time to go. Is because it felt more pressure from insiders rather than anything else. So what do you take like from all of it? Let's begin from his departure.
Well, did Trudeau resign last week? That's the biggest misinformation of the week. Trudeau loves to talk about misinformation. All of the mainstream media and a lot of the independent media reported that Justin Trudeau resigned as prime minister and leader of the Liberal Party. This didn't happen. He did not resign. He said he intends to resign at a future date. And that myth has persisted over the last week. So he has not resigned. And I don't believe we're meeting back on March the 9th and the Liberal Party is going to have a new leader. I, why should we believe that? Because Justin Trudeau says so? Because the Liberal Party says so? They're all liars. These are chronic liars, all of them. So, no, I don't believe we're going to have a new leader by March the 9th any more than I believed it was going to happen by March 26th when the House of Commons resumes sitting. I think this is a facade. I think this is a big game that Justin Trudeau is playing. And every day, I find this fascinating because people keep coming up and saying, oh, Creighton, you're wrong about Justin Trudeau resigning. He's going to resign and they're going to have a leadership race and it's going to go on for exactly 2 weeks. No, it's not going to happen. Dominic LeBlanc has said he doesn't want to run. Dominic LeBlanc was probably the only credible person, as far as I'm concerned, in that Liberal cabinet. He's done a lot of good different jobs. I don't agree with Dominic LeBlanc, but I think he's fairly got it together upstairs. And I think he probably would have been the best chance of the Liberal Party. I don't have any time for Mark Carney. I think the guy is way beyond his due date. He's,
Mhm.
he has already been decimated and destroyed by Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. He doesn't really have a chance of coming up as being the savior of the party. And today we learned that Melanie Joly, I mean the only photogenic person in the Liberal Party, the Liberal caucus, or at least the Liberal cabinet,
Yeah.
says no, I don't want to run because I personally I don't think she ever wanted to run. I think this whole thing with the New York Times and she was gearing up for a leadership race was all nonsense. I don't think she ever had any option. I don't think she ever had an idea in her head of running for the leadership of the Liberal Party. I think she's much like a lot of Hollywood actors who understand their limitations.
Yep.
And I think that was Melanie Jolie. And of all the people there, actually, I have the least amount of animosity towards her because at least she's admitting, no, I don't think I can do this. So I'm asking you, who's left? Who's left at this point? If Dominic LeBlanc is saying no, and the last I read, the last I heard, he's still saying no
Hmm.
because he doesn't want to be a sacrificial lamb for the Liberal Party. Well, who does that leave? Okay, Chrystia Freeland.
Brilliant.
I'm sorry. Chrystia Freeland is not going to do it because Chrystia Freeland is just as dividing of Canadians as Justin Trudeau was. So can Chrystia Freeland pull this together? No, actually, Chrystia Freeland will be exactly like Justin Trudeau. We'll be right back there with this politician that most Canadians cannot even abide for more than 5 minutes on the screen. Do you think that's going to solve the problem? No. And so I'm continuing to say, if the government falls, when this government comes back, when the Parliament resumes in March, they'll beg Justin Trudeau to come back to lead them. Despite this is all a facade. This is all a facade. And Justin Trudeau saw this as a kid
Hmm.
when he was not much older, not much younger, excuse me, than I was, when his father went through this in 1979. And people forget this so easily. Pierre Trudeau did not resign the first time in 1984 when he went for that walk in the snow. That's become Canadian mythology because Pierre Trudeau took that walk in the snow and he decided it was all over. He decided in 1979 it was all over when he didn't want to be the opposition leader to Joe Clark's prime minister. He decided it was all over at that point. When that government fell so quickly as it did, literally within 3 months of really getting back to action. I mean, the government, he was elected in on May 22nd, but there was a summer recess and the House didn't get back until about late September, mid-September. And Pierre Trudeau said, I've had enough of this. I really don't want to be opposition leader. I'm going to move on. Nobody expected the government to fall in December, and it did. And there was a literal 2 month time frame to have an election. They begged Pierre Trudeau to come back. They begged Pierre Trudeau to come back. And I think Justin Trudeau is not a very smart man, but I think he knows his family history at least as much as he knows his own. And I think he understands that this is an opportunity for him to come back because I don't see any other option. The only other guy out there right now to replace Justin Trudeau is Mark Carney. And as far as I'm concerned, he's already damaged goods. Canadians already see him as somebody who is not going to be looking out for their interests. He will do as well against Pierre Poilievre as Justin Trudeau, which is nothing. And so I don't see anything coming. The fact that day after day we've got Liberal cabinet ministers saying, not me, not me, suggests that there's a plan here that the federal media has been completely unaware of or has ignored. And I think that plan is to bring Justin Trudeau back.
Hmm. Yeah, you gave a best example like how Pierre Poulier, not Pierre Trudeau came back in 1980 when he resigned in 1979. It was a big comeback, and then he formed a majority government, and then we have a 1982 constitution. But let's talk about like a little bit about these folks like wants to run. We know like Dominic LeBlanc and Jolie. They said they are not going to run. It seems like Mark Carney And there is also another liberal farmer liberal minister is willing to run, and also Christopher Freeland may wants to run, or maybe some other folks want to jump in. So far, there is no confirmation. But at this time, whoever wants to run, it could be like just for few. I don't say like months. It will be weeks, because NDP and Bloc also wants to dissolve this government as soon as possible. The government will reconvene on March 24th. As Trudeau said, he asked Governor General to prorogue the parliament until March 24th. So we will resume the parliament back on March 24th. Then the opposition day would be like maybe a couple of days later, like they put forward a motion, and then they will discuss, and they will go to vote. And maybe this time NDP would say yes, particularly Bulak already said the enough is enough now for this government. So why anyone wants to run this party, or be the leader of this party, when it would be just to be a prime minister for few weeks? So do you think it would be a right decision for anyone? Like for the uh, rest of years, you will be in opposition. If you lose next government, this next election, it will be maybe April or May. So you will face again questions from insider that you need to step down.
I I don't see the arithmetic working for anybody except actually, and I've said this before, Jagmeet Singh in terms of who we need to bring on side for this non-confidence motion, this non-confidence vote. It's only Jagmeet Singh. If and his the arithmetic is good for Jagmeet Singh. I've discussed this before. It's all about his pension. It's all about the March 7th date occurring
Mm-hmm.
before he's defeated in the next election. He could well lose his seat in
Yeah.
the next election. He's worried about losing his seat. He's losing about not being the leader of the NDP anymore, which of course increases his pension.
Mm-hmm.
But we now know that if the government comes back, if the parliament comes back on March 24th, there's no way on earth that Jagmeet Singh is going to lose his pension. He's got it. So he can well vote against the conservatives and with the conservatives against the liberals and say, I did it. I finally did it. I stood up and I said no to Justin Trudeau. I said no to Justin Trudeau. You could just hear him now. He's such a pathological liar. He stands up there and says, I'm against Justin Trudeau every day of the week, except 2 days a week where I support him. This guy is so incredibly narcissistic. He's in the same boat as Justin Trudeau, but he's a pathological liar. He's so mendacious. But yes, he can finally stand up and vote against Justin Trudeau. So what I'm saying though here is who's left at this point? How do they expect to get a leadership? If you recall what Justin Trudeau said, I will resign after the Liberal Party has had a robust
Mm-hmm.
and national leadership convention. If there's nobody there, how can you possibly say the Liberal Party has had a robust campaign, a national campaign? It doesn't look like there's anybody who's coming into this campaign right now. And like I said, the best chance they were all sort of the liberal insiders were all saying it's Daniel LeBlanc, it's Daniel LeBlanc because you know yeah, he's an old friend of Trudeau, but he's really he's done so much as a cabinet minister. He's had three portfolios at one time. The guy is so competent. He can do it. He can save the Liberal Party.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently not, because Daniel LeBlanc is looking at the numbers and saying, I don't want to do this. Melanie Jolie, who I think is the only person who probably could have gained some traction based simply on her personality and her sex appeal. She's actually a very nice person to be around. I don't like her policies, but she's the only person who's likable in the Liberal Party in the cabinet. She's saying no. So who's left? I'm sorry, I can't see anybody viable left. And it's all going to go to Mark Carney. And if that happens, this is the killer, Sammy. This is the killer. If it all comes down to Mark Carney, that's exactly what Pierre Pauli has been saying for months.
Mm,
That's exactly what conservatives and what libertarians and what anti-globalists have been saying for months. It's Mark Carney the globalists want as prime minister. Everybody else is going to get out of the way. And Mark Carney's the next leader because he's more Justin Trudeau than Justin Trudeau is. So how do you think that's going to play with Canadians who are sick and tired of globalists, who
mm,
are sick and tired of Justin Trudeau like leaders, sorry, in quotation marks, trying to take over the country? It it's a disaster. I don't see any possible way for the Liberal Party to resurrect itself right now. Uh, but as you know, but we haven't got to this, and I'm sure you will. The problem is not the Liberal Party resurrecting itself. The problem is going to be Canada resurrecting itself because this government has no legitimacy. This government is not being taken seriously by Donald Trump. This government won't even be there for 3 weeks after Donald Trump becomes president.
mhm,
And that's the problem. It's not, the problem is not how do the liberals find a savior? The problem is how does Canada avoid a catastrophe, an economic catastrophe in the next 3 weeks? How do we avoid that? We need an early election. We need a new government. That new government is obviously going to be Pierre Poilievre based on the polls. We need to move there as fast as possible. I don't know how we're going to do that. Even though Pierre Poilievre yesterday said we need to do that as soon as possible, Justin Trudeau needs to march to the Governor General's house and say, dissolve the
dissolve the
parliament, let's
parliament.
have an election.
Mm,
But of course, that's not going to happen.
mhm. Yeah, and it seems like Trump is like it has been saying like it was a joke. It is not a joke. Like 25% tariff will be effective when Trump takes office. Like we are just 10 days away. Yeah, like we are not. We don't have a government. Our parliament is stalled. Like now it has been prorogued like until next month, and Trump has been calling, like, and also Trump is calling out to annexing Canada. He is not joking. He knows like what's happening in Canada, like even though says like whatever Pierre Pouliot says or whatever Trudeau said, he does not care because he says like Canada is dependent on America, particularly on security. Like they whenever it comes to protection, we saw like back in I believe 2023 when there was a balloon from Chinese balloon was uh, airing on Canada's soil. So it was shot down by US, not Canada. Like, so it means we don't have our
Yeah.
capacity on defense to defend ourselves. And Trump is openly saying we don't need Canada oil, we don't need Canada dairy, we don't need Canada uh, lumber. So it seems like we Canada should be ashamed of having a government like a liberal government under Trudeau's leadership. We are completely helpless at this time. So what do you take from these words? What Trump is saying?
Well, I I don't know how serious Donald Trump is about annexation. I don't think he's very serious.
Hmm.
I think he's deadly serious about tariffs. I think he's going to do it. He has made every indication he's going to do it. and he's not satisfied with $1.3 billion of border security over not 1 year, but 6 years. Just everything the Trudeau government does is phased in over 10 years, like defense spending that he'll never do. Because if the Trudeau government promises to spend $10 billion on, say, let's say tanks
Yep.
in 2030, it's not going to happen because he's not there to make it happen.
Yep.
Defense policy changes every year. The defense budget changes every year. So to say we're going to spend $1 billion on border security, but it's over 6 years. The spending that is supposed to occur in the fifth year, the fourth year, the third year ain't going to happen because the Liberal government, the Trudeau government's not going to be here. Maybe there'll be more, but Donald Trump is saying, hey, you guys aren't serious. You're not going to spend this money. You're going to spend it way after you're gone. And that's the problem with this whole scenario. But I can tell you Donald Trump sees through this facade. He knows this is garbage. I mean, and I'm watching this and saying, what are you thinking? You're the Prime Minister of Canada. You had a chance to talk with Jimmy Carter's at Jimmy Carter's funeral yesterday. You had a chance to talk with Donald Trump, but you didn't. In fact, he was interviewing CNN yesterday, and he was asked, "Did you speak with President-elect Trump yesterday at the funeral?" No, no. Why not? What else should you be talking about? We're not talking about something that happened 25 years ago. Your life is on the line right now in terms of your political future, in terms of the future of Canada. It's on the line right now. You'd better get this thing settled before it's too late. But Justin Trudeau's not interested. He's more interested in talking about the fallacy that climate change is behind these these forest fires that are happening in California. He wants to say again that Canadians are getting more money back in their carbon rebate. And I'm watching this. I'm saying, you just don't get it, do you, Justin? You don't get it. The country is on the verge of a catastrophe. The country is on the verge of a depression, not just a recession, a depression. We cannot do this. 25% tariffs. We need something else. I don't know Donald Trump. I don't know what he's doing here because everybody who knows me knows I love Donald Trump.
Yep.
I don't know what he's trying to do by suggesting that there's a magical successor here to Pierre Poilievre, who he never mentions as the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, who he never mentions as the official opposition leader. And he keeps talking about Wayne Gretzky becoming the prime minister. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. I don't know why he's saying that. I don't know what he's doing besides trying to make Justin Trudeau feel like he's as low as the earth. And I suppose that's the only possible reason he's doing this. But we need to get back. And I encourage people to listen to what Pierre Poilievre said yesterday at his
Yep.
news conference
Mm-hmm.
about where he sees Canada going with a Canada First policy. A Canada First policy that is not oppositional to the US America First policy, but is in convergence with the American US or the US American First policy. They're seeing things eye to eye. This is a person who can deal with Donald Trump on fairly equal terms. This is a person who can be the prime minister that Justin Trudeau could never be. And I'm not here to sell Pierre Poilievre as the next leader, and I'm as I always tell people, Maxime Bernier, I wish you were doing better in the polls.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to deal with what's in front of us and who is going to be the next leader of this country. And it's going to be Pierre Poilievre. There's no question about that in terms of what the polling is saying. And if Pierre Poilievre, we need to encourage him as the next prime minister to not just fight for Canada, to fight for free enterprise, to fight for freedom, to fight for free speech. And these are all things he said he was going to fight for yesterday. I hope he does.
Hmm.
Like I said, I never trust politicians until I see the reification of what they say in action. But we will see what happens with this. But I can tell you this. Justin Trudeau looked like a man yesterday in this interview who just didn't have it in him anymore, except to bring out the old talking points about how we're all getting 8 out of 10 Canadians getting more back from the Canadian carbon rebate plan. And yeah, we have a dental plan for people who don't need it. Well, oops, I meant for people who need it. And that was the extent of the interview. It was pathetic to watch. And this is a man who's finished historically, but watch him come back one more time because he's been there before. He was finished the last time. Watch him come back one more time. If I see one more liberal cabinet minister drop out of the race in the next couple of days, I tell you, put some money on Justin Trudeau for being the next leader of the Liberal Party because this is all a terrible game he's playing here. A terrible game. So if we see Mr. Champagne, who is probably one of the most oh, absolutely prickly members of the cabinet. Every time he comes on question period, people literally tune out and turn off the station. I don't know who's left. And do you really think Mark Carney can carry this? That's what it's going to come down to. Obviously, that's what this is all about. One globalist hands on the baton to another.
Hmm.
But I tell you, I think most Canadians are going to say, well, I don't know. I don't think there's really a choice here. And it's over one way or the other for Justin Trudeau. I just think he's continuing this game a lot longer than he should have.
Hmm. Yeah, and how do you see? Like I know, like you followed foreign interference very well. So, how much there will be foreign interference, particularly in liberal leadership, and then in the next election, like it could play a key role. Is that it happened in 2019 and 2021 to support this liberal government to keep in power, particularly by China and India.
I'm glad this is incredible. So to vote in the Liberal leadership campaign, you need to be at least not over, but at least 14 years of age and sometimes living in Canada, which can be just about anybody on the face of the earth, except 13-year-olds who are living in Canada for summer vacation. I found this, I couldn't believe this. This is a party that just went through all these accusations of Chinese foreign interference. And of course, decided they were going to deflect them to India. Oh, no, it's not China, it's India. India is doing this to us. And China, no, even though we were getting lots of money for these MPs in Toronto, no, India is the one to blame. So what have they done for their leadership campaign? It's 14 years old.
Hmm.
And if you happen to live in Canada at any time during the year. So in other words, if you vacation in Canada at 14 years old, you can vote for the next prime minister. I think most people would say, holy crap, that is ridiculous. They shouldn't have some other barriers to this. And of course, I laugh at Trudeau. The last caucus meeting, he's walking through the press smiling, just having a great time. And I'm thinking he's having much too good a time. There's something going on here. Do you think perhaps there's a lot of 14-year-olds who don't live in Canada who might say, draft Justin Trudeau. Bring him in.
Mhm.
Vote for Justin Trudeau. He's the man we love, not these other people. Who the hell is Mark Carney anyway? I think this is devastating to Canadian democracy. I don't think 14-year-olds should be voting in the next election. I don't think they should be voting in any leadership campaign, whether they be conservative, NDP, or liberal. But I don't think people who don't even live here should be voting. This is not a decision to be made by people who are not even Canadian citizens. I'm sorry, this is a decision, especially since the Liberal Party happens to be in power right now. It's especially bad because whomever the Liberal Party members vote in as the next leader is automatically the Prime Minister of Canada. I can't think of this is horrendous. I can't think of a worse scenario. But once again, Trudeau has not commented on this at all. He said nothing about this. He every time he goes on CNN or any other station, and it's usually American right now because all he wants to talk about is forest fires in California and all the hard work he's done to stop those forest fires and how it's all about climate change, by the way. And same thing that happened in Canada. He keeps touching off the same nonsense. And I don't think this man has an inch of credibility, but I do think the ground rules they put in for this leadership campaign are untenable, are absolutely unacceptable. And if something isn't done about it, this is going to be the laughingstock party of the world.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. And just last question, like right now we know like 665, which was supposed to ban like or regulate like everyone, media outlets or YouTube or other, like that is completely dead. But like green slush fund and foreign interference, is it over? Like, or maybe in the next government, like which is likely or fully like it mean it is predicted like it will be the a conservative government. So will they do something about it? Whoever is responsible on this, they will be accountable for that.
Well, you reminded me of something here, Sammy, and that's whether or not government bills, and I'll get to your direct question after, are government bills dead with this prorogue?
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be some complete disagreement in terms of what's happening. And if you read the parliamentary papers on it, it's contradictory. So I'm not sure anymore whether or not government bills are dead. I'm hearing from the National Post says they're not. Blacklock's reporter says they are.
Mm-hmm.
And Blacklock report does a lot of study on this. So I tend to take their word above the National Post. But I'm not sure anymore. I have been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks that Bill 363, the online harms bill, is dead if they prorogue. I'm not entirely sure anymore. And this is why I'm talking to a lawyer tomorrow, not personally, but who's on my show to talk about taking the government to the court over proroguing as to whether his opinion is that these bills are dead or not. Will we see some of the conservative activism coming back in the next session? Uh, I would like to see the session dead and never come back again. I'd like to see a new election. And if that's the case, the slush fund will be gone. If the conservatives come back in the fall for whatever it is, a couple of weeks, and they don't mention these things again, I'll be very disappointed because this is why so many Canadians have been energized by what the Conservative Party has been saying about these things. If they forget these things, it's really bad news for them because they have got to remember that they need to inspire Canadians about what this government has done and what must be stopped in future governments. And this is why I always say, Sammy, I'm not in the pocket for any political party
Yep.
because conservatives can do it as bad to you as liberals can. We have to keep telling governments, remember who elected you, remember who voted for you, remember that you're not in power, the people are in power. The people are the ones who voted you there. And I don't care what your label is. I don't care if you call yourself a conservative or a liberal or an NDP. Start acting like you are accountable. And that's why I'm going to continue to say the same things I said when Pierre Poilievre was prime minister as when Justin Trudeau was prime minister, because I want to encourage Mr. Poilievre, encourage
Mhm.
to do the right thing, to do the right things for the people who put him there. Don't forget those people, Mr. Poilievre. Don't ever forget those people because they wanted change in this country and they demand change. Canadians are demanding change. And Justin Trudeau, no matter how much he wants to hide right now, he can't stop it either.
Mhm. Yeah, don't forget people who elected you and who put you in power. And now Canadians want a change. Pierre Poilievre must remember. Great words, sir. And thank you so much, sir, for joining me this evening. I hope, looking forward to having you again next Friday. As you said, like you will be speaking to a lawyer and who is suing Justin Trudeau for proroguing the parliament. Maybe after that, we will learn more, like what will happen, like with this, with with the court decision. Maybe we will have it before March or maybe after March. So let's wait and watch. And thank you again, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Sammy.
Yeah, you take care and have a good evening.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see
Bye
ya.
bye.
See you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.